Welcome to Confessions of a Modern Artist. I am your host, Luke Wynn, and for my second confession, I used to allow the words of others to hurt me. Yeah, this is my confessional. 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 First of all, how you guys doing today? This is the second podcast episode, and I'm excited just to get deep with you guys, just to be vulnerable with you guys. Let's be honest. A lot of times we have allowed the words of other people to hurt us. And it all stems from, well, if you grow up in a black family like me, you're getting roasted from the age of 2, 3, 4, 5. So you eventually get thick-skinned, and you develop a bravado that kind of overcompensates for those insecurities, overcompensates for the fact that words do hurt you. So you become quick with words. You become good with words. I know all of us have gone through that. It's no surprise if you're an artist, if you're a rapper or a singer or a writer, I'm sure you've written some really nice things. You've also written some really hurtful things in your head. I'm gonna be honest. I have this really toxic trait, which is I walk into a room and I see everyone's flaws just in case someone tries to attack me with something. It's terrible. I don't use it. I have so much ammo mentally that's never going to be used. But it all stems from when I was younger. When I was always being told about how bad I was or how I wasn't good enough, when I was being picked on and bullied. Honestly, we'll get to that much later down the line. But because of that upbringing, that intimate moment in my life between the ages of 4 and 8 years old, a lot of that, it would eventually shape me. And let me take a pause real quick. My production company is called Silver Medal Productions. And that's because my whole life I've always been second. I'm my dad's second son. I've always been almost good enough. I've always been second best. So that's me kind of just sticking it to the man. And even with that, you can see how the words that happened when I was young and in my infancy, how that has brought me to where I am right now. So when I say, I used to let words affect me, absolutely I did. There were times when I would make a beat and I loved the beat. I would rap on a beat, I would write a verse, it would go crazy, I would love it. Show somebody my beat, they'd be like, I don't like it. And that one phrase would stop me from liking my own creation. I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one that used to go through this thing where you would write something or you say something that you thought was cool, or you put something on that you thought was dope, and then you go out in public, you face the masses, and they're like, nah, we ain't really messing with it. For so many years of my life, I allowed those moments to shape me. I would internalize certain things. There's certain songs that people have said words about that to this day, I cringe when I re-listen to the songs. Songs that I loved. There's actually one song that I did early on, maybe 10 years ago, where somebody made a comment and I didn't revisit that song for another 5 years. And when I finally went back to it, I was like, yo, this song is dope. The biggest thing that I have learned is you have to keep everything in perspective. You have to have an understanding of other people's lives and their viewpoints. And I know the extreme side of that would be being defensive, right? Anytime someone says anything critical or criticizes you or gives you any type of critique, immediately hit them with defense. And I'm not saying that. It's not about being defensive. What it's about is you have to learn to pick through the words, right? You see the word as this puzzle piece. They may say something negative, but you have to reshape it in order to make it make sense to you. Because if you're anything like me and you internalize things, if you internalize the negative too much, you're not going to like your own creation. You're going to be stuck in your one spot. You're never going to grow past it because you're too focused on it. But if you're able to rearrange it and understand the meaning and how you can actually get criticism out of it, that will actually help you to get better. True story, there's another podcaster named Ruslan. Back in the day, he was all about independent artists, and I was following him so closely. And there was one moment when I was like lit. Like I had been performing like that whole year up in Reno, different shows and stuff like that. Dropped this project, people were loving it. And he had this thing where it's like he would review independent people's music. So one time I sent him my I sent him my song so that he could review it. Even paid $5 on Patreon just to get him to review it. And I remember I was driving for like 30 minutes because I had to go somewhere. And I'm just waiting for him to like get to my song to listen to it. And when I tell y'all he crapped on that song, he said, I sound like a big fish in a small water. Like I sound like the best artist in a very, 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 very like small market. And it hurt for sure because then he doesn't just stop at the song. Like he only listened to like 15 seconds of the song, gave it this criticism. Then he goes and starts going through my album that I have dropped. And he's listening to like 5 seconds of each song, just killing me. I'm like, bro, you're off of me right now. And did it hurt to somebody you looked up to like dog you? And not dog, just criticize and be brutally honest? Yes, because he definitely was harshest on mine. And there was absolutely some worse artists that went before me, but that's neither here nor there. But he gave me criticism, but the one thing that I did was I really listened through to what he was saying. I wasn't so offended that I couldn't understand the bigger picture. And the bigger picture was, you need to get some better sounds, period. He added a lot more sauce onto it, but that was the bigger picture. And it took me time. Like I said, it took me a while to go back and revisit that project because then I just went back like, and this is like, I'm going to prove him wrong. I got all this other stuff, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, like he pointed out a lot of things that caused me to feel some type of way about my own body of work. And with all that being said, at that point in my life, like, because I was in a small market, because I was around a very niche audience, I hadn't really been exposed to a broader array of criticism. And because of his words, it did redirect me to where I am now. Like, so if you hear that project versus what I'm doing right now, it's night and day. So that was necessary. But what I used to do would be just shutting down, shutting down and letting people's words to just stop me to where now I'm halted. Now I'm not going to go past this place. But what I did in that instance was, yes, he went a little overboard, but taking what I could to get better. Because I had to be honest with myself, and I'm like, yes, I'm literally a big fish in a small city right now. So my daughter's screaming again. Anyways, so I used to allow words to affect me so much in that way. It's funny because I grew up like being teased and, being made fun of. We used to just roast each other. We used to always just play the dozens back in the day. That's a super old term. But I was used to like, I was always mentally prepared to take it, but also to give it back. So once I switched over and became more of an artist and really started being vulnerable and starting to put my thoughts onto wax and all these different things, I realized like how insecure that I was in that form, because this was something new. I was used to the being teased, made fun of. That's easy, like roast me. But for someone just to say you're not good enough with your music, with your art form, that's something that I struggle with for a bit. And I can say right now, I have gotten so much better at it. At this point, I understand music in such a broader sense, because when you're young, you want the whole world to love you. But the truth of the matter is the whole world is just not going to love you because not everything is palatable for everybody. Not everybody's meant to like you, your writing, your music. But guess what? There is an audience for what you can do. There is an audience that will love your brand, that will love your writing, your music, your whatever you're doing, whatever your purpose is, there's an audience for it. Don't let people who are not a part of that audience dictate to you what you're doing. Don't allow somebody who's not meant to be a follower of yours to come and cause strife internally. It's crazy to think about that because sometimes we don't realize how out of touch our parents could be. For example, my dad doesn't like rap. So if I were to show him a rap right now, he wouldn't be amazed by it. So if I internalize his reaction, he doesn't hate my music. It's just he doesn't get the culture. A lot of times that's what we have to understand is you can't allow people who aren't experts in a field or who aren't experts in what you're doing to cause you to have such a ginormous, to have such a big voice in your life to where one word that they say prevents you from continuing forward or pauses you for 6 months or causes you to second guess yourself. Don't do that. And this season, 2024, we're glowing up. In this season, we have to have security in our purpose. We have to have security. And honestly, you have to have security in God, because at the end of the day, if you're secure in God and you're at peace with the art that you're producing and God has given you, who can come against you? What is another word? What does another voice matter? I'll wait. It doesn't matter at all. Let's not allow other people's words dictate who we are, dictate our purpose, dictate and contradict the goals and the dreams that we have. That's my confession. What's your confession for today? Has that ever happened to you? Have you allowed people for so long in your life to have control over who you are, over your existence, over your purpose, your calling, your creativity, your artistry? Have you allowed people to have that much power over you to where it stops you? It creates this big barrier that prevents you from going from point A to point B? If so, are you going to continue that? Or are you going to work to get better at it? If you need any assistance in this, you can DM me, you can follow me, and I'll be there to guide you. We're in this journey together. All right, until next time. This is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional.